Cancer patients in Marion County are being honored through a special ceremony.
And TV 20's Emma Delamo shows us how hospital officials are honoring some of their bravest patients.
I choose hope. I choose to live every day.
Kelly Ryan is thankful to be alive after receiving a life-changing diagnosis. The former healthcare worker was battling the brain cancer glioblastoma in 2020. Ryan is a survivor and is sharing details about her experience and recovery to other survivors and current patients at HCA Florida West Marion Hospital. She had an important piece of advice to share.
If you feel like something's not right in your body, it's probably not, and get it checked out.
Hospital officials held a tree planting ceremony in honor of National Cancer Survivor Month. Doctors were thrilled to see some of their former patients.
When you see somebody that 2 or 3 or 4 years ago stepped into your office scared and afraid of what's to come, without the knowledge of what can be done, right? And then you see them today with confidence, healthy survivors of cancer. That is, again, highlights what we do on a daily basis.
After the speeches, the group of survivors picked up a shovel and started digging. The tree was planted outside the main entrance of the hospital as a symbol of hope for cancer survivors and those currently fighting the battle.
It provides hope as we see it grow and thrive through the years, and I think the tree really symbolizes that hope that we can give our survivors.
The cancer survivors were encouraged to sign and write a message on stones, which will lie at the base of the tree. The experience gave Ryan a new perspective on life.
Who knows what tomorrow will bring, but I live every day to the fullest.
It's a symbol of hope for those who won the battle and for those currently fighting it. Reporting in Ocala, Emma Delamo, TV 20 News.